One of the Pharisees asked him to eat with him. And he went into the Pharisee's house and took his place at the table. And behold, a woman of the city who was a sinner. When she learned that he was reclining at the table in the Pharisee's house, brought an alabaster flask of ointment. And standing behind him at his feet, weeping, she began to wet his feet with her tears, and wiped them with the hair on her head, and kissed his feet, and anointed them with the condiment. Now when the Pharisee who had invited him saw this, he said to himself, if this man were a prophet, he would have known who and what sort of woman this is who is touching him, for she is a sinner. And Jesus answered and said to him, Simon, I have something to say to you. And he answered, say it, teacher. And a certain moneylender had 2 debtors. One owed 500 denarii, and the other 50. And when they could not pay, he canceled the debt of both. Now which of them will love him more? And Simon answered, the one, I suppose, for whom he canceled the larger debt. And he said to him, you have rightly judged. Then turning toward this woman, he said to Simon, do you see this woman? I have entered your home, and you gave me no water for my feet. But she has wet my feet with her tears and wiped them with her hair. You gave me no kiss, but from the time I have come in, she has caressed and kissed my feet. You did not anoint my head with oil, but she has anointed my feet with this ointment. Therefore I tell you, her sins, which are many, are forgiven, for she loved much. But he who forgives little loves little. And he said to her, your sins are forgiven. And then those who were at the table with him began to say amongst themselves, who is this who even forgives sins? There's a picture here that I cannot get beyond. You see, the picture here that's painted is the Pharisees are religious people. People who are supposed to know God. And yet there was this heart of judgment and contempt. There was this heart that was questioning everything that God was trying to do. On the other hand, you have this woman who was a harlot, a woman who was a prostitute. Do you know the alabaster box and the ointment that was in it? Historians say that it was likely a year's salary. And she, as Scripture says, out of her heart of generosity, lavished this onto God. And she was being condemned because of her lavish generosity. Culturally at the time, when you were a guest in someone's home, because it was dirty, the streets were filthy, there was lots of dust, you were dirty when you got there, they would provide water. Typically, the lowest servant in the house would wash your feet when you came in the door. And you did this for anyone who came to dine with you, out of respect. Typically, in those days, even men to men would greet each other with a kiss on the cheek. There was none of this for Jesus. And finally, there was a historical tradition in the Jewish homes that they would provide a perfume, a spritz, a touch of oil in your hair as a show of blessing, a sign of love, a sign of being welcome. And this Pharisee, this person who claimed to know God, gave God none of that. And yet this lady, who was, I'm sure when she walked into the room, there was a hushed tone, lavished all of those things on Christ. Going back to this tragic moment in time, as people who are supposed to know Christ, hear me, as those of us who claim to know Jesus. Are we acting as those who have been forgiven much? Or are we acting as the religious Pharisee, heart of condemnation? Pastor Perry Messick is a friend. Pastor Perry's over at First Baptist in Collingdale. And he is the FOP chaplain for Delaware County. He works with the police and firemen. He has a gift in that area. When 9/11 happened, him and Bill Holmes, his assistant pastor at the time, took a train and went to Ground Zero. Every week for 6 months. Do you hear me? Every week for 6 months. They staffed the volunteer tent with 100 or so other chaplains. And the whole point of them being there was to be the love of Christ in these responders' lives. Perry acted out of love. Perry acted out of, God has done so much for me. Who am I at this time, at this tragic time, to not be there for my guys? He didn't know any of these guys, but they were his guys because he has a heart for policemen and firemen. It's his passion. There was a moment, Jason, I'm going to ask you to cue up the video in a minute. I was on 322. There was a morning when near the Blair bowling alley, when I was driving for my job, when I heard that Rich Mullen passed, 1997. I remember the day as clear as bell. And you say, he's a musician. Yeah, but he was one of the greatest songwriters of our time. He got a hold of God, and God would speak to him, and he would speak to a generation, you know? And I remember that day. I remember how I was just heartbroken because I loved his music, you know? It spoke to me. I'm going to end the service today with a video that was the last, well, there's a home movie of him performing at somebody's basement just before he passed. But this is the last live performance that he ever gave on TV. And it was 3 months before his death. And I went through the entire concert the other night online and picked out this song because Rich was one of those guys who God got a hold of his heart. And through the beauty of his words and poetry, through the beauty of his gift of music, he was able to speak to guys like us, folks like us, the very voice of God. The thing I want us to walk away from as we reflect today is what's next. This is an opportunity to show the love of Christ to people, to heal a nation, to speak into people who aren't like us, who don't even agree with us. It's an opportunity to see God move. Today, I want you to, if you don't know Christ, I want you to see the depth of his love. If you do know, I want you to ask yourself, how much has he forgiven me? And Lord, what am I supposed to do with that